sometimes
Sorry.
it turns out, oh, yeah, I see that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it turns out to be great advice or some new ideas. So I love these meetings because I never miss a chance or opportunity to be part of that, despite of, weird schedules and traveling all the time and all of that. So yeah, now I'm in Abu Dhabi and I can still be present. So that's pretty awesome. I'm not doing much here, by the way. I'm just relaxing, going to the gym 3 times a day, getting ready for Saturday. It's a Spartan Beast race, it's called. It's World Championships. It's half a marathon in one of the biggest deserts in the world, in the Liva Desert. And it has 30 obstacles, and people expect it to be between 4 or 5 hours to complete it. So that's gonna be crazy. Yeah. And I'm too old for that shit.
Isn't that like 200 kilometers from Abu Dhabi city?
250 approximately driving.
I know the place. Yeah.
It should be a beautiful place, and people are getting ready down there now. So I'm staying in Yas Island, close to the Ferrari world, and just staying at my suite. So that's it. Yeah. Getting ready. So yeah, so I never decline. If I got time, I never decline to be part of this. Plus, I think we missed a couple of classes with the pep talk anyway. And it's just fun to be part of that, because the advantage for all of you is, Peter's a great teacher. He's a great instructor. And sometimes when you're in class, the teacher's right there and that's it. But I experience sometimes when I show up, or if I have assistants, there's always additional questions. And you can't get closer to the source than me. You'll get good answers from Peter, no doubt. But, sometimes I got maybe a little bit different idea, or maybe some more origin stuff of why we're doing things exactly like we are. And I just want to pass out information. So if any of you have questions or anything you would like to ask, please be my guest, and let's get the most out of my participants today. That would be nice.
Because you're the creator of Soulkey therapy.
Some people say.
Good.
And then everything went quiet, apparently.
Yeah. And then always we say, like, this is a yes and this is a no. And
oh yeah. Or we can raise hands and we know somebody's got a question.
Yeah.
So you just know it all. It seems like, okay, we can end the meeting now. That's awesome. We got some. Hey, Malise. Yeah, just unmute and
Hi, Martin. Nice to see you again.
Likewise.
I do have a small question. It's about the induction. I was just wondering if we could somehow shorten the induction just a little bit. Are you working on that in any way?
Well, it's not necessarily long, actually, depending on how much time you're spending on each step. So let me give you a couple of ideas. The initial setting it up, like the relaxation part, finding your most favorite spot outside or whatever it might be, like a relaxed place, just establish it pretty fast. We don't have to spend a whole lot of time there, so it might be just a couple of minutes. The most crucial thing is where we're actually going to find a place to lie down and imagine those 8 waves coming from the universe down through the atmosphere, rolling slowly throughout the body. And then on the last wave, just exit the body. I never say float out of your body like onwards or forward. It's always stepping out like backwards, because that is the most natural thing for connection, because that sits back here close to the pineal gland, and that is where we get our impact when we do manifestations or visitors and stuff like that, apparently science says. So it makes more sense to do that, but that whole establishing thing might not be more than 5 minutes, basically. So that's only 5 minutes. When you create the pillar of light or the tunnel coming from the universe, what we have to remember, there's not, this might be, the waves are very, very, very important because it raises the frequencies within the client. So it opens up more soul knowledge. Not entirely, but a little bit. So we kind of like just poke a hole into that knowledge. That is why we need the 8 waves. The relaxation part is not really necessary because we don't have to have people to be completely relaxed or anything like that. So don't do long progressive relaxations because we don't want people to sleep anyway. We need them to communicate, right?
Right.
But the tunnel is where we transport the soul or the being of the client through whatever it might be. Remember, it's all just a setup, but the things are happening on an energetic level. But we have to do these setups to empower and manifest within the conscious mind. So it kind of like accepts the idea, like, oh, I can imagine that. So that makes sense, instead of just doing things on an energetic level. But in the old days, when I was a young boy and I was doing past life regression, we used something called the car. So you will sit inside a car, you couldn't see out the windows, and it started to accelerate. And then when we felt like it, we said, now it stops accelerating. And I don't want to do that. It worked pretty okay back then, but right now the tunnel serves a different purpose. So the 2 options within the tunnel would be, well, first of all, it might just be a tunnel. And if people have an, crazy problem about that, just like roller coaster idea, or I don't feel very well because it goes too fast, no problem. You just create those sides of the tunnel as being transparent and enjoy the journey through the universe. It doesn't have to be like this. It could just be straight out there. Doesn't matter. It's just an idea. But it's creating movement within time and space with the client. So it's opening up more knowledge and more dimensions. So here's my go-to. So we don't have to stretch it too much or count from 10 to 1 too slowly or whatever. I will basically in the beginning really accelerate it, and I won't do too many suggestions. So the very beginning would be like, first of all, touch the tunnel so you feel the vibration, because there is a connection, there is a knowing within the client. The imagination of the tunnel might not be anything, but when they physically touch that within the idea of what it is from the unconscious, that frequency or that vibration does something to the body. That's why we're touching it first, to be familiar with it. But we don't have the client to pay attention to it. We just say it, one suggestion, that's it. When we're stepping inside right away, I'd never ask questions like, are you ready? Should we do it now? Do you see anything? No, I just step inside and start to float. So levitate, look down at your feet, see the ground getting smaller and smaller, far distance, and just shoot up there in whatever speed you like. But then I start the acceleration process. I just say simply something like this to my client. Imagine right now, or sense right now, that you will accelerate just like a rocket, faster and faster through time and space, and just feel that thrust and that, eagerness within you, because something amazing is going to happen. When you notice it starts to deaccelerate, just nod your head. So now it's up to the client. So let's say I spent 4 minutes of counting nice and slowly. If they went there in 30 seconds, they'll start going back and forth a little bit and then lose faith in me, because they're already connected, and then they disconnected, and then they're connected and disconnected.
Right.
And it won't be very good for them. If I do it too fast, nothing will happen. We'll just nothing, no door, no reality, no nothing. But in the instant where the client does suddenly nods their head like that, unconsciously, because they never pay attention consciously, you just say something like, and now we slow down. So on the count of 1, you will step through a white light. That's kind of like the cleansing thing. That is where the conscious mind steps into the background and allows things to happen. And you might notice a door, an entrance, no matter what it might be. So that counting down, when we get this far, which might just be another couple of minutes, maybe 3, I will just do like 10, 9, 8, 7, because they're already there. The thing is, when they're nodding their head, they have already moved within time and space, and basically the opening is right there in front of them. The only reason why we're doing a slight countdown right now is to embrace the conscious mind and whatever idea it might have. So we're not overwhelming it, or we're not doing things too fast, because what it's doing at that very moment would be like, whoa, that went fast. What is all of this? That's a white light. That's a door. What should I do with all of this information? So it really tries to cope with everything. So that is why we do the counting as slow as we can, but it doesn't have to be stretched. So when I do, the induction, it might just be 15 minutes. 3 of those maybe might just be the establishing. For the rest of the induction would be transferring into those expanding parts, adjusting to frequencies, not relaxation, not deepening, nothing like that, but to have an ongoing conversation, so that can be speeded up quite a lot. So I don't feel like the induction per se has to be changed. You just have to change the idea around it. What you think you have to do, in comparison with an old school hypnosis induction, we shouldn't compare those, because those are totally different. And, modern day hypnosis, we don't do progressive relaxation anyway. We just tell people to close their eyes and start it up. So it's all about, Soulkey induction might be the first induction I created that is actually optimizing the client to get the most out of the session. Yes, it actually is. That's the first induction I created for something magnificent as Soulkey, but it's optimizing the client to make sure that they will get everything they need. And it doesn't matter if they stay in the seats in front of the fireplace, or if they go 1,000 places, as long as they get the information that they didn't know they were looking for, then I'm pretty happy with it. So yeah, just change the idea about the induction, because it can be facilitated pretty fast, as long as you get those steps of that's your personal place, that is the tunnel, let me know when it deaccelerates, that's the door, and then just go through the door. Let me add one more thing. And by the way, this is me, this is Martin, and I cannot shut up. That's the thing. So the door is pretty often misunderstood in a way, because some Soulkey therapists thinks that the door serves like a multiple purpose, just like a Swiss knife, or it's like the entrance, we have to do this and that with it. It's basically just a filter where you kind of like agree with the conscious mind to step into the background and allow the more clear you to be present and do what's necessary. So, and this is the last battle of the conscious mind. When we enter the fireplace room, everything is safe, everything's going to be good, everything that's on the inside, which is actually basically on the outside of everything, everything that approaches your client serves a positive purpose, no matter how it dresses up. Even if there's a demon in the corner, well, when you look at that demon and you see straight through it, what is the actual purpose of that being here? Because it serves a purpose and there's information, and then it changes to something different. That is the conscious mind trying to pull the eject seat just like this, because now we got a chance to get the hell out of here, right? Because that's the function of the conscious mind, because this might be emotional, so we better take care of ourselves, right? But the door is basically just to start getting the client to speak in a creative way, or to allow the creative mind to set up images, ideas, sensations. So it's kind of like a VAKGO. We are expressing all of the senses as much as possible, because that will help us throughout the rest of the session. And, maybe 2 out of 10 clients, Peter might agree or disagree with this, because it's kind of different, but 1 or 2 out of 10 clients see something at the door that they're utilizing after the session. It might be information, it might be a sensation, an emotion, it might even be a logo, something like that, that means something to them on a more higher spiritual level. But it's just an entrance. So whatever it might, excuse me, whatever it might be, well, it's just an entrance. So there might just be some additional information, and then you're going to know this is going to be an interesting session, because if they're getting information already on the outside, it means something is definitely waiting on the inside. So that's the purpose of the door. And I hope everybody knows all the workarounds when we do have a client, because it happens, where they go, I don't see any door. Your standard answer to that should be awesome. That means you can go straight through. And they go, no, there's no door. And I go, exactly, you can just go straight through. I go, well, I don't, it's dark. Well, we haven't turned on the light yet. You know, there's so many conscious, unwilling excuses that is part of the corporation.
Like
and
the
there's
door is
never
closed.
True, the door is closed. I'm like, so it's just in your imagination. We can just step through it. You know, just the idea, when I say in a moment, counting from 3 to 1, on the count of 1, you will already be on the inside. You might already be there now. 3, 2, deep breath, 1. And then never, ever, ever ask the yes or no questions. Are you there? Never ask that. Just go, you know, first thing that pops up in your mind, what is the first thing you notice now being inside? If they go, nothing, you go, awesome. Let's establish that. Let's allow things to come closer, nice and easy. What is the first sensation? Because there might not be an image. It might just be a knowing. It might be a sensation. Might even be a sound. It might even be a scent, right? So it could be anything really. And if we do the standard, it's dark. I go, wow, that's awesome. That's a lot of value. They go, no, it's dark. Like from a scale from 1 to 10, where 10 is pitch black and 1 is kind of like light gray. How dark is it? They go 7. That means now what's nothing in their mind has a value of 7. And if it has a value of 7, it's something with consistency too. So we're like, what is the consistency? Is it dense or is it light? From a scale from 1 to 10. And they go, well, that's definitely something in between. Wow. So if you jump into that, could you float or would you fall down on the floor again? They go, well, I can float a little bit. Just do it then. And then boom, opens up their mind. And now they will get images, ideas, knowings, and multiple sensations right there. So all that put together, the actual induction is from where we go, close your eyes, and then here's the door. That should be, if you're brand new at this, it might be 20, 22 minutes, something like that. If it's longer than that, you should reconsider how much you're asking, or you should guide just teeny tiny bit faster because it's okay. If, you know, 15 minutes would be regular, I think, with most clients, but there will be clients who needs way more attention. But that is something we need to take care of before we start doing the induction. If they're a little bit nervous, get them to relax. Talk about their expectations. Why did you want this session? Talk about the positive possible outcomes so they're feeling a little bit more relaxed. And then when they have the kind of expression, you go, it's time to close your eyes. And I usually, you know me, Malise, I usually say, well, before we do anything hypnosis related, just close your eyes for a little bit and let's do something fun. And we started, right? So that is my workaround when it comes to induction. So, you know, just think about it differently. And I think you don't have to spend as much time as you have done previously. Make sense?
All right. Yes, absolutely. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Great.
Well, it's
Great
you
question.
can always gain time in skipping the body scan if you have kind of
I do that,
experienced
yes.
clients.
Yeah. You know, body scan, you know, it has to do with you know, progressive relaxation. I usually just do it in 2 parts, upper body, lower body, and it's just a wave. Like it's just a sensation, because we do want it though. We do want the mind, especially the conscious, to step inside of the body instead of trying to get the body into your mind. So just paying attention within your body makes a huge difference. And another thing that, oh, there's so many things about the induction, isn't there?
Yes, absolutely.
One more thing that is my miracle wonder when it comes to the induction that does way more than just the Soulkey experience by itself, maybe, would be just before they see the waves or have the wave experience of the 8 waves, right? That teeny tiny moment where they're connecting with the sun, sensing the heat on the forehead, stuff like that, and bringing in the light or whatever it might be, the energy within the body. I usually blend in this suggestion. And that light and that energy will now help you. If there's anything within your body or your mind that is not working as it should be, that light and that energy will now heal it, repair it, and optimize it automatically. It's just a thrown in sentence. I don't do anything more about it. It's just those 7 seconds. And sometimes after a session, maybe months or a few weeks, people get back to me like, what did you do during the induction? I'm like, what do you mean? They go, well, you mentioned something about healing my body. Even though we had the healing portal in the Fireplace room, we might have had the experience in the life between life. It might be a lot of stuff, right? But they go, well, I had this issue. I went to the doctor. I was up for surgery, and now I get a second scan, and it's gone. And I felt something during the session. I'm like, wow, good for you.
Wow.
It's not me. It's not the Soulkey. It's you allowing something within your body to change because you knew it was time. So that would be the way I do it, because I don't want that responsibility. I don't even want the fame or whatever that comes with it. It can only happen, despite of how many beautiful things I might be able to say to my clients, it only happens because they allow it by not being too serious or too much fighting the idea. If they go, oh, my body can be healed by the light and the energy, here we go, and not really paying attention, trust me, the body will do some amazing things. So that was just the one thing I had to remember to mention why the sun or light in general might be a good idea. Let me give you another idea. I'm sorry, you started me up. I can't stop it again.
Shoot.
One person once asked me, so like, do we have to be outside? Like, no, you can be wherever you want to be, because wherever you are, there will be light, right? And they go, well, can I challenge you? I'm like, you can do whatever. And they go, okay, so imagine this. I'm in a teeny tiny concrete room, 20 meters down into the ground, sealed with an iron and steel, and everything is shut, and I'm right there in a bed, and it's pitch black. I go, where's the challenge? They go, well, that's the challenge. There's no light. You can't create light there. I'm like, okay, close your eyes and imagine being there now. And they go, okay. So that sense where you, no matter how dark it is, within a few moments, maybe a little bit of time, you kind of like adjust to it. Your other senses that is not visual empowers your body to still feel and sense the room, and that actually affects your eyes, and then suddenly you will start to see contours, contrast, and stuff like that. And they go, the client who was supposed to fight me went, yeah, I know. So if you look up into one of those corners, just nod your head when you know which corner it is. And my client went, yeah. So in that teeny tiny corner, because it's so dark, you will be able to see even the teeniest of the tiniest piece of light. And when you know you got it, no matter how much it might be, just nod your head. It took 1 second, and they went, why? Because they forgot about fighting. So what's the reason for that? The only thing that will fight this situation or this experience will be your conscious mind. That's the only thing fighting it. So the more questions I'm asking about the environment, how it looks, how it feels, body questions, they can't be conscious at the same time, because you can be conscious and stay conscious if you're trying to figure out things and analyze and trying to figure out logical things. But when you go into the body and you're trying to explain or express how it feels, trust me, that is unconscious, and that will affect how you're going to see the entire world in front of you. So that is more natural, and you can't fight it. So that's the way I work around that. That is, it's not about how creative you are and how many settings you're setting up. It's all about the journey. And we will get there either way. It could be pitch black all the way there, or it could be beautiful journey, riding an old car, stepping inside of a UFO. I don't know. It could be anything really, as long as you know it's all about the message and it's all about the information waiting for you. Your mind will create stuff that is necessary for you. And we just need to accept that. So that was the last thing I want to say.
Thank you so much. Awesome.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I hope you all learned just a teeny tiny bit from this. Yeah. Oh, awesome. Somebody was falling asleep. There we go.
I think Sus has a question. Yeah.
Yes.
I had a lady and she had 10 different then she was in 1955 and then she was in 1840 and then she had this very different journey in her Soulkey.
Okay, so let's talk about a concept that I call jumpers.
All right.
So imagine this. Let's say, Suze, that I'm guiding you right now to your past life or to a current important past life. That's something that means something to you right now.
Mm-hmm.
On your soul level, you're not touchy. You're not too emotional. You want straight up answers. You want the information because you've been there before. Everything is from the past, right? So you already been there. So it's not about how bad it was. It's all about what is the emotions, what is the experience, what is the knowledge. So if there's kind of like a glitch within the matrix, if there's something that spooks the client just a teeny tiny bit, we have a category of clients that we call jumpers. Mm-hmm. And here's the mechanism behind it. If they sense on whatever level it might be, it's definitely not conscious. If they sense, whoa, this might be a little bit emotionally overwhelming, they will automatically jump within the archives of past lives to another past life that is similar within the situation or the experience that could possibly explain something similar to what they're looking for, but it's different because it's less powerful, it's less emotional. So it usually changes. The value of the experience gets smaller and smaller and smaller. So when you're getting a client where you feel like, whoa, that's a jumper, what you need to do is pause for a little bit. And you're just going to speak to the client, you know, because you're a guide, you're the facilitator. You're like, well, it seems like you jumped to another life that is similar to the one we're looking at. What I want you to do is actually jump back to where we started. And this time create a little bit more distance and then say something like this, because remember, you already been there. You know everything. So we're looking for gems and golden nuggets. We're not there to feel and sense everything again because you already know. And then see, on the count of one, you're going to be there once again. 3, 2, 1, more distance. So what's happening now? And boom, they're right back to where we started. So by doing something like that, you give them confirmation that you pay attention and you want them to feel comfortable and safe, and they trust you even more. And they know, wow, it's just an automatic mechanism. Good thing you saw that because I want the best of the best of the best within my journey. And you just saved that for them. And by doing the dissociate or the distancing, they won't be as emotional as they might have been if they just stayed there from the very first step, which is good because then we probably avoided an abreaction. And the reason for jumpers to do a jump might be because the body senses it might be emotional abreaction within a short while. And they feel like unsafe of being able to control it. So it's either trust within themselves, or it might be trust within you as a therapist. So this is how you're going to save it. This is how you're going to put an end to that and make sure they feel safe all the way through. So I hope that answer helped you just a little bit.
Yes, that's right.
So just remember that, guys, it's a concept we call jumpers.
And then there was a lady and she says to me, isn't it fantasy? She's, yeah, it could be fantasy. And I said to her, no, it's not fantasy. She had a lot of animals in her Soulkey, and she had a number 8040 in, there was a war, and she saw an adelaar as
an eagle.
And she said, it's fantasy. And I said, no, it's not fantasy. What do you say to those people?
Let's talk about that concept, fantasy. Where does it come from? Because there's a difference between being creative consciously and fantasy. So let's talk about those two concepts just a little bit. Consciously creative. So if I ask all of you to imagine a cabin within the forest, if your conscious mind wants to build that idea from creativity, it will start to figure out, is there a meadow? Is there an opening within the trees? How are we going to build it? Should it just be a square house? Do we need a basement? What kind of roof? And it starts to get practical, logical, analytical, right? So when people think that's fantasy, they're dead wrong. Because how would she come up with something like that without being in a more creative process of trying to figure it out consciously, right? She didn't, it just popped out, right?
Yeah.
So I would actually say the opposite. If a client said, wasn't that just fantasy? I would say it was just fantasy. And now they're all confused. I'm like, so it was just, that means it's right. Fantasy, yeah, because when you're really fantasizing about things, all those moments in life where you really were fantasizing, that is where you got this amazing idea, this beautiful image within your mind, and you never know where it came from. It was your fantasy, right? That is where you're most connected with your unconscious and your soul knowledge, because it comes from somewhere. Did you make it up? And they go, no, well, it might make sense. I'm like, did you make it up? Did you actually have a moment? Because the conscious mind works slow. So if a client goes like, whoa, I see 2 horses, I see a camel over there, and this beautiful boat, and it just pops up like that, the conscious mind can't do that. It's impossible. You can't be creative consciously and pull out stuff like that fast. You have to be in semi-trance, if not a deeper trance, which activates just around 8 hertz. That is the same place where healing lies a little bit lower, and clairvoyance, psychic skills is just about 8 hertz brainwaves. That is where fantasy is. So when you're connecting with fantasy, being creative, like just allowing things to pop into your mind, that's exactly what it is. But it comes through an opening. So in your minds, all of you, the difference is not fantasy or not fantasy. It's creative consciousness building like Lego one at a time. We can't build a roof unless we got a foundation. Otherwise, it does not make sense within our conscious mind. If it just pops out like that, trust me, it's fantasy. And fantasy is not imagination. Fantasy is deep level of being creative from things you know on all multiple levels, in my opinion, anyway. So that's how I define the difference between 2 of those. So when I have a client, because it happens once in a while, they go, well, I think it was just my fantasy. I'm like, but did you make it up? And they go, no, it just popped up. So how's that not good enough for you? Where should it come from if it didn't just pop up? Because you were connected, right? Did it feel real? And they go, yeah. How could you make that up? They go, no, but it's just my conscious mind. And I'm like, that's exactly what it is. Because the conscious mind wants to figure out how it all fits together. That is why we're asking about information in the past life. That is why we're asking for some sort of proof or confirmation so people can go research it afterwards, because that is stimulating the conscious mind so it approves of the message. Every client basically gets a message, but if the conscious mind afterwards is not getting the proof it's looking for, it will discard any information. I might be the best example. You know, my first past life experience, Berlin, Second World War, I got shot in a basement as a kid. And there were so many marks or landmarks within my experience that could be researched online. And I did. And I couldn't really find all of it. So I decided to drive to Germany, to Berlin, to figure it out. And took a wrong turn, ended up in a weird street. And that was the freaking street I have seen in my past life regression. So I was like, okay, so it's just spelled slightly different. That's why I couldn't Google it, but there it is. And then everything else from my personal experience turned out to be true. But my conscious mind at any time will just trash everything with one of those things didn't quite fit into the description, right? You know, and so it kept working because maybe because it knew, but it's doing its best to try and disprove it because if it approves of it, we get emotional, we might not be able to handle it. And that's the job of the conscious mind, to make sure we don't get too emotional so we will survive. That's the genetics of the brain and the conscious mind. We need the type of proof, and sometimes we get it, sometimes we don't, but it's all about the message. So did it feel real? How did you feel it? How could you come up with that as an idea? How could you just play Lego with it? Because they can't. They just knew it suddenly. So that's how I define those two things. And I'm not jumping into a discussion with my client on argument. I'm just explaining how it fits together if they understand the concept of imagination or creativity versus fantasy, right? So yeah, they got the information, we didn't tell them. And they didn't sit there and try to figure out a story, because that would take way too long, way longer than a Soulkey session to come up with all of that information. Trust me, it will. At least in a way where it all fits together and it feels right. We can't do that. So yeah, I hope that explained your question a little bit.
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. Perfect.
I have nog a question.
Yes.
Sometimes last week I had a lady and she couldn't get in it. Yeah, and I had a few that the ego or the mind, they don't want to travel to the through the light or through the door. How do I?
Well, if the ego and mind doesn't want it, it's because they have distrust in themselves or in you. And that might have had been kind of like a level of nervousness or discomfort or whatever from the very beginning. So sometimes if it feels right within your stomach to proceed with the session and feel like they're ready for the induction, and they kind of like give you good feedback, it should be okay. But if there's some sort of resistance, we definitely have to sort it out before we do. So, and it's kind of difficult to give you an exact advice on that, but I'm pretty sure if you kind of like backtrack within your mind and you go through the conversation you had with that particular client from the very beginning, probably you had a sense that we need some more comfort here. We need something, because the client was either too eager or avoiding a couple of things, or maybe ego was there from the very beginning and we need to shut it down. And we'll do that by not promising anything from their wishes. We're asking about the reason why they want it, and we ask about some of the people that seems important to them, or maybe a couple of themes, kind of like to get to know them. And then it's everything about not about the session from then on, because it's now just the induction if it feels right. So sometimes we miss those kind of signs, and if we take them as far as the door or the tunnel and nothing happens, we can't do the session that day because we already made too many mistakes. So the best thing would be, reschedule. Let me know when you might have more comfort or feel more relaxed when you get here, maybe another day or different time, something that where you'll be way more ready for a session, and let's book it that day. And that is the one chance my clients get. We are not satisfying conscious minds, and that is usually the problem when people are not seeing the stuff they thought they would. That is because they still want to be satisfied, and that has to do with the pre-talk, always. Okay? Yeah. One last question, and I need to go. Are you enjoying the answers, by the way? Is there something you can use for anything? Awesome, good.
Definitely.
I maybe have a question. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
It's about induction. When people go into the Soulkey therapy way too fast when you're not at the tunnel or something, so it happens that they dive in.
Yeah.
I get them back, or
Yeah.
should I go through with it?
Amazing question, because one of the most natural, simplest things within Soulkey is how fast are we guiding the clients, or how slow, right? So what is the accurate speed? Well, there's 3 types of clients. First category are those who just go, wow, look at all that. And they can just stay there for the entire session. And we have to go like, come on, we have to get over here. That's amazing, I know, but follow me because I'm your guide for today. So some of them we have to drag with us a little bit and accelerate just a teeny tiny bit because otherwise it takes too long, right? So we have to push them a little bit. Then we have category number 2, those who just follows our speed and it seems natural and just like that, right? Perfect. And then we have those like, hey, see ya, and they're gone. Like that's just something like from a cartoon or something. Those, what do you call it? Wood runners, what are they, like with the coyote? Yeah. They're so fast and they're probably also going to be the jumpers later on. So what we have to let them know is, first of all, I know you probably feel like you know where you're going, but that is your soul guiding right now. That is your soul eagerness because you want to connect with something that is so divine to you. I know that, but you have to follow my pace because my job is to make sure we get everything sorted out today. And we got a recording. And it's very important that when I ask you questions that you speak out loud so you can hear it consciously too, because that will empower the entire session. So trust me, I know where we're heading. Just follow every step and let's do that together. And they go, okay. So usually they just need to know it. That's how I do it. And sometimes we have those who are really eager, and they need to get that information twice. So, but you know, it's all within the corporation. They need to know we're the guides, and we set the speed because we're going to make sure that they will get everything. Because if we just allow them to run consciously, they will not get the information they're looking for, and they will feel like afterwards, like, I'm missing a whole lot. Why didn't you do your job better? Well, because you ran. So that's something we need to stop from the very beginning. And you will probably feel that already when they're detaching from the body and they want to get inside of the tunnel, just go, 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 right? They just want to run out there as fast as they can. So we need some more confidence, some more speed, and that goes within your tone of voice and how you speak to them. Just relax a little bit, one step at a time, because we have a couple of things we need to do nice and slowly to make sure you will get all the information you're looking for, because we can only do all of this too fast. So bear with me, be patient, and we'll get there. And they usually respect that. Otherwise, there's something wrong with the client if they don't respect you as being a guide and they're wasting their money because that's what they're paying you for, right? So that is usually how I interact, but also how I instruct my clients. And you could probably get the idea, if my client is trying to mess around with me, I will let them know because it's my office, right? And they're not telling me how I'm doing my job. So that will be a very short conversation, and either they're going to accept it or we're going to end the session because I'm not wasting my time. And they get that idea. I say it in a very loving, comfortable way. So I'm not saying, you have to stop, I'm going to slap the shit out of you. No, I'm not doing something like that. I'm just, yeah, I'm just doing that. We all had those moments where clients had a very in-depth experience within a past life where we suddenly sit there like looking at them and we think to ourselves, could you please die now so we can move on? And that's the only time in life where it's going to be okay, right? I'm just saying to always remember to put aside all the seriosity and remember, have some sparkles in your eyes and a smile in your mouth. And remember, you got 2 of these because you're listening and you're only guiding once in a while. And if that is being fulfilled, you're going to have a great session.
Thank you. Yes. And probably it's a bit the same question, but I often have the thing that they don't go into the fire room. No, not the fire, the fireplace room, yes. They just see the door and they just like jump into it, or the fireplace room is already the first castle or something they go into. So I rarely get to go to the fireplace room.
Okay,
when I
so
do
if
the induction with, you go to the fireplace room, you go, they rarely go there.
okay, so here's the thing. You might need to change how you say it just a teeny tiny bit, because if that is something you experience quite a lot, that means something is missing. Because I don't experience that at all. Everybody goes to somewhere. But if we are too determined that it's going to be a fireplace room, because it might not be, then add this. Because if you say, well, in a moment when you step through the door on the other side, imagine a fireplace room. That might be too much, actually. It could be a fireplace room, or it could just be a place, but that's your place, that's your safe place. However you're going to experience that, that's going to be your fireplace, but it might look quite different. It might just be a color, a light, or energy. It might be a different surrounding. So now you opened it up. So if people step into it and they go, oh, this is not a fireplace room, they shut down, right? But if you open it up that it could be anything, remember it's just a setting. And a fireplace room can be established in a fireplace room, but also in a forest, on a mountain, in a cave, in the old Greek Roman times, or in a desert, or in a sphere of white light within the universe. Because all the techniques and stations, you can create that, because that's the only thing you're adding to the experience. It's a technique and a tool. You can do that. But the fireplace room might look quite different. But there will be a lot of clients who see basically exactly that fireplace room, which is interesting. So, but just open up your mind to it might be something different. And we can still do it. We just, by work tool, call it a fireplace room. So if you change it to a place, a safe place for you, kind of like an in-between all worlds where you soul feel comfortable and everything has a positive intention, that's the place, and you will feel safe and comfortable all the way through. Something like that, and that will help quite a bit, actually.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Martin, one last question maybe that I get from most of you from time to time. What if somebody doesn't go into trance? Like, is that's the question. Like Sus, you had some of them, like they don't want to go in trance. That were your words.
Yes, they don't want to.
So, well, then we have a problem. That's kind of like taking a bus, but yelling at the driver, I don't want to drive a bus, but I want to get over there. You know, we can't fight stupidity. You know, I don't think it's them not wanting trance. It might be them not understanding what it is. So if that requires a couple of minutes talking about what is trance, it's a natural state, and which other situation does it come naturally, you'll be empowered all the way through. You will actually be more safe than when you're conscious and all that. If that's what it takes, then do it. But it's kind of like, you know, this is what I've done. I need to run in a few minutes, by the way. This is what I've done with a few of those. The last time I had somebody say, well, I don't want to do trance. I'm like, okay, so let's do it without. You can just close your eyes without the trance and then talk about this. And before you know it, they're in a trance state, but they think they're not. And I don't care, because now we got the opening. They think they're fully aware, but what they don't know is they're super aware, like trance is. So whatever they thought trance was, now they experience the real trance, but we're not calling it trance. Yeah, just an idea. Let's do like Muppet Show. Yeah, good. Make sense?
Definitely.
Good. That was my contribution for your meeting today, everyone. I need to go to bed. I got 2 rough days coming up. So it was a big joy to talk to all of you, and I had fun.
Yeah, me too. Hey, Martin, will you get? Do you have ambitions to get world champion?
No, that's I just want to cross the finish line.
Okay.
And if it goes well, who knows? Maybe next year.
Okay.
But who runs half a marathon, age 46, with 6 months of training in an Abu Dhabi desert?
Sounds like you.
Yeah, it's stupid, but it's fun. It's fun. The shape of my life. you all probably watched a lot of videos of me, or at least some, and I'll show you something because, yeah, right. So this is how I look now. So
Woo!
that's exercise.
Woo-hoo.
I'm just saying. So yeah, it takes an effort,
Awesome, Martin.
but it's good.
Martin,
Alrighty.
I have one question. Your app on the phone, you had music on it. It was a frequency music.
Yeah, trance music.
Is it on the radio side on the app, or is it somewhere?
Yeah, if you go to the app and you go to radio, it will just be repeated right there as a continuous looped song.
Okay, because it doesn't work by my.
Well, it might be buffer. So what it does, it downloads a chunk and then starts playing when it got enough, depending on which phone you got. Sorry, that might be the thing.
An Apple. I have Apple.
Okay, it should work. So you might want to look at how much it's buffering, or if there's not enough memory on your phone, that might be the issue too, because it's downloading a chunk of the song. It should work. I tested it 2 days ago.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you.
Thank you, and have fun, everyone. I'm just gonna jump out.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thanks a lot,
Good luck,
Martin.
Thank you.
Martin.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good luck
Bye.
coming days on Saturday.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.